Yo, what is up guys, and welcome to another Wild Rift video. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys an updated tier list for every single role in the game. And as you can see, it's changed a lot in a lot of different roles, especially the Baron lane, the jungle, and mid lane. These roles changed a lot. Like, everything changed, of course, but these changed a lot. So yeah, as I said, there's timestamps in the description if you just want to skip to whatever list you want to check out. Let me now talk about the Baron lane tier list. So, the elephant in the room, it's Camille, right? Like, is she really this strong? Let me actually explain. Super high elo, like the best of the best Camille players. You know what's funny? Camille kinda got nerfed for them. Kinda. Because she did get buffed. But like, there's one important thing. I'm not gonna explain how it works. With her first ability that got nerfed. So like, now you know what? She still got buffed. Like, honestly, it doesn't really compensate. The point is Camille got buffed. Like, for low elo players, Camille got giga buffed. Giga buffed. For mid elo players, Camille also got kind of giga buffed. Only for the best of the best, you could possibly say Camille kinda got nerfed. But what is my point here? Camille is S plus tier right now. Like, you don't have to hit your hook shot. The first ability is gonna be much easier to play with. Her abilities got buffed. Her second ability is so much easier to hit effectively now. She's just so much stronger right now. They made her so much easier. And they buffed her stats, so she's super powerful right now in the Baron lane. You can very easily play your lane, and in the late game she becomes incredibly powerful, especially because of that third ability change. You know, you don't actually have to hit the enemy with your third ability anymore to get the bonus attack speed. All you have to do is hit the enemies within 3 seconds with a basic attack to get the insane bonus attack speed that the third ability provides. Like, massive buff. She's really powerful in the Baron lane right now. Gwen, honestly, you know what? I don't even want to talk about Gwen. I hate this champion so much. Like, Baron lane Gwen, she'll still shred through anything. The whole problem of Gwen is, it really doesn't matter how much magic resist you have, and it also doesn't matter how much health you have. Because her passive does damage based on your health, and then her first ability does true damage. So even if you have magic resist, she's gonna shred through it. And team fighting, she's absolutely powerful. So she only really has one weakness, which is early game. Besides that, she's unbelievably powerful throughout the entire game, especially late game. A champion that's different, but almost equally as strong as Aatrox. The thing about Aatrox is, he's actually really powerful early game. Like, one of the strongest level 1 champions in the game, in the Baron lane. He's gonna demolish you in the lane. When you reach mid game, he still becomes very powerful because of his ultimate. Like, his ultimate is the thing that makes him so powerful. But late game, he's still powerful, but he will start to fall off, especially against players that know how to play against him. Because when players go for anti-healing, it's gonna hurt him a lot. Like, it's gonna cut off a lot of his healing, which is the main part of his whole kit. The fact that he heals up so much. And Aatrox is not a type of champion that can just go 1 versus 5 like crazy. Like, if the enemy just has anti-healing and focuses him down, they're gonna kill him before he can do anything. But the Aatrox is smart. You know, 1v1s he's still very good at. And if he catches out like an ADC or something with his ultimate, he gets bonus movement speed and can quite easily catch up to the champion because he has a dash as well integrated in his kit. So that's why he's just still a solid S plus tier champion. Gragas, mostly AP Gragas right there. You know, you can play tank Gragas, but the Gragas that I'm putting in S plus tier is full AP Gragas, right? Rod of Ages or Luden's Echo and then just full AP. It doesn't matter what patch you're in. It doesn't matter what year you're in. It doesn't matter what underwear you're in. AP Gragas is broken, guys. It even doesn't matter how you build him. Like, as I said, Luden's Echo, Rod of Ages, hell, even Leandris. He's still gonna one-shot you in the late game. All you have to do is just know how to play him, know how to do flash combos, and you're gonna dominate every game in the late game. This champion is honestly crazy. Like, really crazy. Really crazy. Because even his early game is pretty good. All he has to do in the early game is just poke the enemy with his first ability. Wukong, the thing about Wukong is, I don't like him as much as I used to anymore, but he's still S plus tier. The reason that I'm saying that is because he kind of doesn't do that well into all of the strong champions now, especially because Camille went up to the stronger champions as well. You know, Camille does really well into Wukong. So like, if basically, you know, a champion gets indirectly nerfed if their hard counter gets buffed. You know what I mean? So like, how could I give a good example? For example, Cannon. Nasus is a hard counter for Cannon. If Nasus gets buffed, it indirectly means that Cannon got nerfed. You know what I mean? So Cannon didn't actually get nerfed, but because his hard counter got buffed, he got nerfed. Same happened to Wukong, I would say, because Camille's really, really good into Wukong. Set. Now, the interesting thing is about Set is if you go for Spirit Visage now on Set, he's gonna get a bigger barrier from his second ability. And Set has an integrated healing as well. When he goes out of combat, especially if he's low HP, he heals a lot. And of course, Spirit Visage is gonna increase it. So that's another thing to say. That's another way to indirectly get buffed. If an item that's good on you, gets buffed, you also get buffed. Or if a new item gets added to the game that's really, really good for you, you get buffed as well. So that's what happened to Set. Spirit Visage is pretty much going to be a core item for Set right now, and it makes him really, really powerful and a very formidable threat for magic, for like heavy burst magic damage champions, like Evelynn, Katarina, Akali. He just goes Spirit Visage, he gets a bonus barrier, and he gets a lot of magic resist, right? And of course the healing as well on top of it. Now let's talk about Jax in the Baron lane, because Jax is that champion that not many people are talking too much about anymore, but is still insanely powerful. Like Baron lane Jax. I remember when they changed Jax, where they made him pretty much unplayable in the jungle, and they gave him the buffs for the Baron lane. Those buffs you can still feel, guys. Like you can still feel. It really doesn't matter what nerfs they do now and they have done after that. That one buff that they gave to him, the change they did to buff his base stats in the Baron lane, makes him really, really powerful. Early game he's very strong, and of course late game, I don't even have to tell you guys what happens in late game with Jax, right? He just eats turrets for breakfast. Fiora. Thing about Fiora is, I really like this champion, but it doesn't fit. I would say it doesn't really fit in the current, not necessarily current meta, but in the current skills of the players. Let me explain what I mean. Because obviously high rank is not high rank anymore in Wild Rift. It's like everything is low elo, basically. So Fiora, people won't really understand the way to play Fiora, right? Like you need to split push, 1v1s, hell even 1v2s. Your team needs to understand that you as a Fiora can waste time on the opposite side of the map so your team can do objectives. I don't see that happening anymore in high elo, as I said. So that's why I'm still putting Fiora in S+ tier. But like realistically, because of the new matchmaking system, Fiora would probably be sitting somewhere here, like mid S tier. But if you know what's up with Fiora, she's sitting in the S+ tier. Now we have a champion that is very good in this current skill, which is Garen, Everyone knows how to play Garen, and Garen is still so powerful. And the scary thing about Garen is if someone mastered Garen and truly knows, how to dive when he can execute enemies, he's so scary. Because like you all have probably played against like a Garen player that just felt like was unstoppable. Like you're under your turret and the Garen just dives you with his first ability, uses his third ability, procs Grasp of the Undying on you, uses Ignite and ults you, and kills you pretty much from 100% HP to 0 while you were under his turret. And he escapes the turret with like half his life left. And you're gonna be asking yourself, like, what the hell just happened? Did this Garen really just turret dive me with 100% HP, kill me like I was nothing, and escape the turret with still half his HP up? That's correct. And I'm not gonna explain how you do all of that. You can watch my Garen videos about that, because I actually used to be like top 10 Garen player, and I have like a 70% Garen win rate. So if you haven't already, feel free to check out my Garen videos. They're really, really nice to watch. Because this champion is still S+ tier. Riven, I would say Riven is a bit like Aatrox, but maybe a little bit weaker. Not as strong in the early game, but I would say Riven is stronger than Aatrox in the mid game. Like in the mid game, Riven is a monster. Absolute monster. So, like similar to Aatrox really. Like early game, she's very strong, because level 1, she has her first ability, which can constantly basic attack the enemy like crazy. You can chunk down an enemy to like 20% health with one combo with Riven. It's really as crazy as that. What was I saying? Yeah, but then in the late game, yet again, Riven will start to fall off. But her mid-game power really, really compensates for it. A champion that also falls off in the late game is Renekton. I made a Renekton video a couple days ago with Lonely Kid, and he truly showed the power of Renekton. Still putting him in the S tier though, because unless you're like a Renekton god and can play around his Fury insanely well, I would say he's just sitting on top of S tier. Like, not S+ tier, because the thing about Renekton is it's quite a simple champion. As I said, if you don't know how to play around his Fury like really, really well, people will generally see you coming. Like, they'll know, okay, he's gonna stun me for a long time now and he's gonna do his combo. As I said, if you really want to get good at Renekton, you need to learn how to manage his Fury so people don't know what's coming at them. Like they'll be like, I can fight this Renekton easily, but then you come at them with the perfect combo, with the perfect ability used with your Fury, and you will destroy them. That's the thing about Renekton. Sion, Sion actually got buffed. Not as much as you would think, because it showed from fifth. He gets permanent HP from taking minions, right? And from taking big minions, which means the cannon minions or like big jungle minions, he gets a bonus 20 health instead of 15, which means 5 health more. So every single small minion that you take, you're still gonna get the same bonus health. You're only gonna get 5 bonus health when you take the big minions. So it's not as much of a buff. But in the late game, that's gonna give you like an extra 100, 150 HP. Hell, maybe even 200, 300 HP if you're playing him in the jungle. But here we have a Baron lane tier list. It's not as much, but he's still quite strong. Like his turret pushing power, and he's still gonna be very, very beefy. Not as beefy as when he came out. You guys remember, right? Like when he came out, how stupidly broken this champion was. But yeah, he's just good. He's gonna be pretty good. Akali in the Baron lane, I always say that I don't recommend people playing Akali in the Baron lane, and I'll keep saying it, but like, she still feels super powerful. The reason that I never recommend Akali in the Baron lane is because she's just not really built to play against a bruiser. But for some reason, Akali is so strong that she's still able to, like, especially if Cerise is level 5, she'll be able to 1v1 a lot of bruisers because of her ultimate. She does a lot of damage. Combine that with an ignite to get the enemies to a low amount of HP, and your ultimate will execute them. It's really powerful. Olaf also got adjusted recently, right? Like Baron lane Olaf is actually playable now. Well, playable is actually pretty good because he shreds armor with his first ability. So not only does he have true damage now, he can also shred armor for a few seconds with his first ability. He can pretty much permanently shred armor, by the way. Because if you catch your X, you can throw it again, and you're going to be shredding the armor again. So it's very powerful during 1v1s against these tankier types of bruisers, you know, like Garen, Riven, Fiora, whatever. Yone, on the other hand, again, this champion is really not supposed to be played in the Baron lane, but he's so stupidly strong in the game right now that you can still play him in the Baron lane. Because the thing is, Yone generally gets punished if he gets too close to these bruisers. You know, Camille's gonna slow him and hookshot on him. Gragas is gonna all-in him with his third ability ultimate. Seth is gonna pull him into melee range. You know what I mean? Like, I can say it for all these champions. They're gonna catch him. But Yone is, as I said, is so strong that he can actually trade with bruisers. You know, his first ability, second ability, basic attack combo does so much damage and gives him sustain because of the shield of the second ability that it allows him to trade with these stronger, beefier bruisers. So that's why he's sitting in the S tier right now. I still don't really recommend it, but he's just so powerful on the Baron lane. Darius, you know, is just good. They buffed him in the jungle recently, but in the Baron lane, he's still good. Just good, like good. Irelia, honestly, same story as Yone. Shouldn't... Well, actually, no. You know what? Irelia should actually work. Even though Irelia is generally a mid laner, she should work in the Baron lane. It's fine. Like, if you're able to hit your abilities, she's going to be able to win 1v1s against most of these bruisers in the game right now. I want to talk about Nautilus as well, because Nautilus actually got buffed indirectly too. Because all of the item changes are in Nautilus's favor. Like, Randuin's Omen is going to be so powerful on Nautilus. Frozen Heart is going to be powerful. Spirit Visage is also a buff for Nautilus now, because it buffs his shield, you know, his second ability, the constant shield that he can get up. So if you go for Spirit Visage, if you're against magic damage yet again, you're going to have increased shielding as well. It's really good. So, and Baron lane Nautilus is quite underrated, really. He's really powerful champion if you need a tank. Like, he's really strong level 1. And then he falls off a little bit in the mid game, but in the late game, he becomes so strong again because he's such a frontline. Mundo, I mean, Mundo is fine. Like, no one really plays Mundo, that's the problem. I always encourage you guys to try out Mundo if you haven't already, especially if you're up against like a tanky, very tanky Baron laner. Like, if you're up against like a Garen or Wukong or, you know, Sion, that's where you want to pick Mundo, because Mundo's first ability does bonus damage equal to the enemy's current HP. So if the enemy has a lot of HP, it does a lot of damage. It chunks that enemy down so easily. Another thing to understand with Mundo is so it's a bit of a small tip, or more advanced, I would say, but you want to pick Mundo if you have executing champions in your team. Let me explain. As I said, Mundo's first ability chunks down enemies. It does a lot of damage to enemies that are full HP. If the enemies are lower HP, Mundo will do lower damage. So if you can chunk down the enemies, and then you have like a Pyke or Evelynn or Jane in your team, these types of champions, these types of finishing champions, it's gonna be really, really good because these champions do more damage if the enemies at a low HP, right? These champions cannot really chunk down enemies too easily, but you as a Mundo can. You're not only gonna be a tank, you're also gonna be chunking down enemies. So just a little bit of an advanced drafting tip with Mundo. Vayne Baron lane, everyone finds it disgusting, but it's good. It works, especially if you're against like a Garen or a Fiora or something. You'll demolish the enemy Baron laner. Make sure you have a jungle tank though. That's the one thing. And like even a support tank, because normally the Baron laner is the tank. Make sure you have a tank in your team before you pick Vayne Baron lane. Anything else that's interesting? Warwick Baron lane is playable. It's quite, well, it's not that strong really. It's just playable. It's really not that strong. Kill in the Baron lane is really weak, but I actually still think it's playable. Like if you pick it into a right matchup, like Sion, for example, or Cannon, or let me see, what would be another good matchup actually from all the top champions? Really not much actually. Really, really not much. Akali actually, yeah, Akali is a pretty good matchup for you. If the enemy picks one of those types of champions, you can pick Kill and just chill in your lane. Cannon is also great. Cannon is definitely better than Kill. Not sure what I was thinking when I was making this list. Cannon is definitely better than Kill. Like his all-in is very, very strong. It can provide your team a lot of team-wide burst damage. Alright, on to the jungle. Diana hasn't changed. So Diana is still the most broken jungler in the game right now. Interestingly, Diana is not pick or ban. Normally when a jungler or like when a champion is insanely powerful, it's gonna be like a pick or ban champion, right? Like you guys remember Cannon, right? When he came out, everyone was either picking him or banning him. Or like when Darius came out, pick or ban, you know what I mean? So, or kill when she came out, even more disgusting. These types of champions are pick and ban. I feel like Diana is even on that level. And I would almost even rate her S++ tier. That's how strong she really is. Because it's just crazy. Like early game, she can farm jungle pretty fast because they buffed her jungle clear. But late game, this champion is broken. Like, it's just beyond broken, honestly. She can one-shot squishies. She honestly doesn't even have to use her first ability to one-shot squishies. She just jumps on the squishies with her second ability, third ability, and she'll just one-shot the squishies. It's absolutely ridiculous. In team fights, she's very strong. She's very mobile. She has a team-wide ultimate. Honestly, just a broken champion right now. Really, really broken, in the jungle especially. Because her ganks are also really powerful. Evelynn, everyone hates Evelynn. But people still play Evelynn because she's broken. She's so stupid. Like, they've nerfed her so many times, but Evelynn is still Evelynn. And especially if you know how to play this champion properly, clear jungle fast, know when to use your ultimate, know when to engage, those types of things, she's like utterly broken. Maybe even better than, well, no, not better than Diana. Never mind. I take that back. But she's so broken. Her ganking is out of this world. Her late game is like one of the best in the game as well. She'll just one-shot anything. It's just a stupid champion. One of the best assassins in the game. And there is little counterplay because she's literally invisible. So she really has it all, to be honest. Wukong in the jungle is great. His team fighting is really, really nice. His ganking is really, really nice. Honestly, nothing new about Wukong. So I'm just going to skip him. Gragas jungle, on the other hand, still very, very strong. I'm talking about AP Gragas again, by the way. You can play tank Gragas jungle, but yet again, that is a little bit weaker. I would rate tank Gragas like A tier, maybe bottom S tier, but full AP Gragas is where it's at. You'll want to go for Luden's Echo for a faster jungle clear than a Rod of Ages. And as I said, you're going to clear jungle hella fast. Your ganks are really, really good. And of course, when you reach the late game, you're going to win the game. Another thing that's really good about AP Gragas jungle is his smiting. He has one of the best smiting abilities in the game. Like, you can put down your first ability, you can drink the bear, second ability, and then you can use your third ability, first ability, and second ability, and smite like a dragon from like 4,000 HP in the... No, not 4,000, but like 3,000 HP in the late game. And not even joking, if you have like full items, it's crazy how much damage he does and how hard he can burst down objectives. Shyvana is great. It's fine. She's just fine. She can get to level 5 quite fast because she does have one of the fastest jungle clears. She's just fine, right? Like, she's just fine. She can take those objectives. Late game, she's very, very powerful. She's actually very, very powerful in the late game. She's one of the champions that could potentially deal with a Diana. Like, Shyvana does decently into Diana if you hit your third ability and constantly harass her. But yeah, like, she's not as strong as Diana, but she's just good. She's just good in the jungle. Morgana is completely different. She has a decent jungle clear. She actually got nerfed with the recent jungle changes because now she cannot take jungles at the she cannot take the red buff and the wolves at the same time anymore, and blue buff and the big fat brown guy. I think it's called Gromp. It's gonna be hard for her to take them at the same time too. So she did indirectly get nerfed by that change, but it's still Morgana. She's very very strong. Now they did nerf Leandris, which did hit her, but you can still go for Luden's Echo, Rylai's Scepter, and that kind of stuff. It's still fine. Like it's still fine with Morgana. Riven jungle is good. You know, it's just good. She has a good jungle clear. Her ganking is actually really, really nice. I made a Riven jungle video literally yesterday, I think. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? So I made a Riven jungle video. If you guys haven't seen it already, make sure you check it out. Look it up in the channel. It's really, really strong. Like, especially if the enemies, if you have like poking teammates, yet again, I'm gonna give you guys a bit of an advanced tip. If you have like a lot of poke in your team, you know, like an Orianna mid lane and a bit of a poking or bullying top laner, and you know, poking bot lane as well, like Ezreal, Nami, Riven is gonna be much better because Riven with her ultimate, it does bonus damage to low enemies. So if your team pokes down the enemies, you can gank them super easily because your ultimate will finish them off insanely easy. So just yet again another advanced tip. Kha'Zix got nerfed yet again, but yet again he's still insanely powerful. Not quite on top of the S plus tier list anymore, but just comfortably sitting in the bottom S plus tier. You know, he can still do a lot of damage, but they are nerfing and nerfing and nerfing him. They nerfed the damage of his first ability. They nerfed the cooldown of his first ability, but he's still okay. He really is still okay. Aatrox jungle, never thought he would be very strong, but he actually is just very strong. I just feel this champion is a bit overbuffed. They should honestly just nerf his stats a little bit, because he shouldn't really work in the jungle. I don't know. I don't feel like a champion like Aatrox should work in the jungle, personally. Now, Kayn is a champion that should work in the jungle, and I find Kayn very interesting. And I'm talking about red Kayn here. Blue Kayn kinda sucks. I mean, it's okay, but it's really red Kayn that's strong, because like, if you're against a lot of tanky, beefy champions, red Kayn will do so much damage. Like, he'll do so much damage. And not only that, the beauty of Kayn is he can waste an insane amount of time. So, like, you go in with your first ability, you knock the enemies up with your second ability, you use your ultimate to go into the enemies, and enemies are going to be waiting for you to come out. Then you come out, use another first ability, and you can run into a wall. And meanwhile, your team can go in, slap the enemy on her face, and just destroy them, right? Like, that's the point of Kayn. He can waste an insane amount of time. He's not the type of champion to hard carry himself. He's just a very, very good initiator of a fight. And especially now, since they've buffed the red Kayn. Lee Sin, I dropped it. Wow. The hell is that? Lee Sin, I wouldn't rate him as plus 3 anymore. Because he's really not that strong anymore. Still, if you put Lee Sin in a highly skilled player's hands, it's going to be very good. But yet again, because of the new skills of the players, because of the new way that ranked works, Lee Sin indirectly got nerfed. Because Lee Sin is very, very good if you have good teammates. Because, like, if a good Lee Sin ganks a good Orianna in the mid lane, gets 3 kills for the Orianna, and of course Lee Sin falls off in the late game, but the Orianna is going to carry the late game because she got that early advantage, right? Because of Lee Sin. That's the point of Lee Sin. Giving your team, boosting their early advantages so the later game champions can carry you on the late game. So that's why, honestly, he indirectly got nerfed, and I honestly just put him down from S plus tier to top of S tier. Still very, very nice. Still very good to buff your team, but you're not going to get carried as much as before anymore. Like, that's the thing with Lee Sin, unfortunately. Let's see. Next up, we have Olaf. Olaf jungle is just fine. You know, it's not the best, but it's fine. Just like Lee Sin, it's okay. The thing about Olaf is, though, he has a bit more carry potential than Lee Sin. He's actually also stronger during team fights in the early game. His ganking is not the best, but as I said, like, his early mid-game team fighting is incredibly powerful. And you can use it, you can abuse that to get a lot of objectives, a lot of turret pressure, because he's also quite good at turret diving and all of that kind of stuff. Now, another strong early game champion is Xin Zhao. This is also a very strong champion, but not as good at ganking as Lee Sin, but better at carrying late game than Lee Sin. Still, Xin Zhao sucks in the late game, but at the very least, Xin Zhao can 1v1 champions in the late game. Like, he can just dive an enemy backline, win the 1v1 quite easily. He's also a decent tank in the late game. Not necessarily Xin Zhao himself, but because of his ultimate, it blocks all the damage from outside. Next up is Camille. Camille jungle is playable again. Not the best, but because they made her so much easier, because they gave her the attack speed buff for the third ability, she's gonna be very good as a jungler as well. Her ganking is decent. Her jungle clear is decent. Her late game is insanely powerful. So it's true you're gonna struggle a little bit in the early mid game, but her late game, whoo, insanely powerful. Darius jungle also just good. They buffed him quite recently. They made his jungle hit faster. His passive does more damage to jungle camp, so you can play him in the jungle. His ganking is surprisingly good. As long as you're able to hit a hook on the enemy, that enemy is probably gonna die. 100% has to waste his flash the enemy, but if he doesn't have flash, they're just gonna die because you can slow them and destroy them with your ultimate. So Darius jungle is really nice as well. Rammus in the jungle is an interesting one. I only really recommend you to pick it against a lot of attack damage. Of course, that's the point of Rammus, right? Like he's like an armored crocodile that can, that enemies just can't kill unless they have magic damage. He's just good. He's really good at ganking, and in the late game, he's a really good frontline. However, he does struggle a lot against true damage. That's true, guys. True damage. So not only magic damage, but also true damage. So if the enemy picks a Garen, Olaf, oh my god, Olaf demolishes Rammus. Vayne, you know what I mean? So that's why it's just dangerous. However, if your last pick and you saw that a lot of the enemies picked heavy AD, no true damage, not heavy AP and stuff like that. Now, of course, the enemy can have AP, it's fine. But if they have like 2-3 AP champions, you don't really want to pick Rammus anymore. So that's really when I recommend you to pick Rammus, only like at the end of the draft. Echo jungle is fine. He can gank pretty well, but it's a very high skill champion. Like ganking is only really good if you can properly hit your second ability on this champion. Any other interesting champions that I want to talk about? It's funny because I'm playing a load of TFT right now. So these champions, like some of these champions are broken in TFT, but then they're like utter garbage in Wild Rift. So like Zed, for example, is insanely powerful in TFT, right? But it's not that strong in Wild Rift. So it's really funny for me to say that Zed is not that strong here, even though in TFT Zed 1v9 is like crazy. No other interesting ones. I mean, Warwick. Warwick sucks. Don't play Warwick. Unless you're like bronze elo, Warwick is just not gonna work. Even though they buffed his ultimate, I just think he sucks. It's such a straightforward champion. Every single one knows what you're gonna do. But unlike Garen, unfortunately, Warwick is really not as strong as Garen. So yeah, let's now move on to the mid lane. And I still have Vex on top of the mid lane, because I just feel like you can always pick this champion and she's always going to do fine. And I actually also think she's better than Yone, for the reason that she's just much easier to play. If you have a really high skilled Yone player, I actually think Yone is better than Vex. But like, unless you're like a challenger Yone one trick, I think you're just going to be better off picking Vex. Vex is, as I said, always good. Very powerful. She can destroy enemy backlines. It's just a very good champion. It provides a lot of value. Yone, as I said, a very high skill champion, but if you do have the skills to play this champion, it pays off like massively. If you're able to hit those tornadoes, to follow up with your ultimate, do an insane amount of damage during your third ability, that like you can really punish enemies with this champion. Another champion that's also really good now is Khazad. They actually destroyed Khazad with massive nerfs to his third ability and his ultimate recently, but they actually buffed him now. They buffed his first ability, and they just buffed a few things here and there. And he's actually pretty good again. Like, he's not as broken as when he came out, of course, because when he came out, he was utterly broken. But he's really strong right now. All you really have to do is get to level 13. When you get to level 13, he becomes disgusting. Disgusting. Before that, he's okay. Like, level 5 power spike, he's okay. He can finish off enemies from like 20-25% HP. But then the later you go into the game, the more burst damage he deals. And the funny thing about him too, if you reach like very late into the game, enemies just can't catch you. Because if you have a blue buff especially, you can just keep running away with your ultimate. Make sure you jump over walls, by the way, because his ultimate will cost more and more mana each time you cast it, up until 3 casts. So that's the one thing you need to keep in mind with Khazad. Diana, just like the jungle, incredibly powerful. Wouldn't say she's as good in the mid lane though. But still insanely powerful in the mid lane as well. Like, the only reason I wouldn't put her like as the best mid laner is because it's really hard for her to to engage in the mid lane. Like, sure, in the very late game, she's still gonna one-shot enemies, but in the mid lane, she can't really engage against most of these enemies. Because sure, she'll do a lot of burst damage, but after that, she'll get the sword. Let me give you an example. Diana against Brand, okay? She goes in with first ability, third ability, second ability. Sure, she does a lot of damage to the Brand. But then she has to run away because she used everything, right? Brand is going to use all of his abilities, stun her, and do a massive amount of damage before she can even run away. And don't even forget about the minions that are going to be attacking you as well. So that's the thing with Diana. Like, you go in and it's a little rough to go out. You can use your third ability to go out again. It's just not that strong. I'm saying this like she's still a top 4 S plus 3 mid laner. I'm only explaining why I haven't put her as the best mid laner, by the way. Don't get me wrong. Like, she's still insanely powerful in the mid lane. Akali, now this is the role she wants to play. She's really, 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 really strong in the mid lane, guys. Like, her burst is even stronger in the mid lane than it is in the Baron lane. There we go. I was talking about the Baron lane. It's even stronger in the mid lane than it was in the Baron lane because, of course, the enemies are squishier. So if you find any opportunity with this champion, you can go in and one-shot the enemies like crazy. Master Yi is actually Zoe because this website doesn't have Zoe yet. But Zoe is... So the thing I think about Zoe, I think people are just not good at her yet. I genuinely think Zoe is an S plus tier champion. Like, I really, really believe she's gonna be broken when people start to figure out how good this champion is. Sorry, when people start to figure out how to play her properly. Like, she does so much damage. She can literally put you asleep and almost one-shot you. Isn't that ridiculous? Isn't that ridiculous? It sounds ridiculous to me. But she's very, very powerful. Really strong late-game champion. Her poking is crazy. And also her all-inning potential is crazy. Just an overall very good champion. And let's not even forget her second ability. Constantly picking up flashes, exhaust, ignite, and anything like that. It's just a crazy champion. Very, very strong. And I think she's gonna be close to broken. We'll see. We'll see how the meta evolves. Irelia mid lane, you know, very, very good. But a bit high risk, high reward. Because it's a little bit harder to hit these mid laners. Because they're generally going to be ranged. But if you do hit them, very likely you're going to be able to one-shot them. She's not as good as before anymore. Because she won't follow any dashes or flashes anymore. So, you know, there is counterplay to Irelia now. Annie, I keep saying it. And I'll say it again. Annie is the secret broken S plus tier mid laner in every single patch. I remember when Annie was like even more broken than she is now. They actually had to nerf her and change her ultimate completely because of how broken she was. But even then, not that many people were playing her. There's only like a few select players, you know, like the secret Annie group that know how strong she is. And these people are abusing her. Wait, that sounds really wrong. These people are abusing the champion in game. That still kind of sounds wrong. These people are abusing the power of this champion in the game and winning games for free. Yeah, there we go. Oh my god. And they're winning games. Me included, you know, whenever I play Annie is broken. If you haven't already, then what are you doing? Make sure you look up HellsDevil Annie, watch the videos. Like, even if you don't want to play Annie, those videos are just so entertaining because Annie is just a disgusting champion. Disgusting. Even if you're behind, she's gonna be able to one-shot the enemy backline. Even if you're super behind. That is how stupid this champion is. It's so easy to provide value on an Annie. Like, if you're behind as an Orianna, for example, you're not gonna be able to do anything. If you're behind as a Katarina, you're gonna have a really rough time. If you're behind as any champion, you're gonna have a rough time. But Annie, no. You can still one-shot squishies because she's a stupid champion. Katarina. Same story as Yone, to be honest. But I feel Yone is a bit stronger. Katarina is really, really nice if you're able to use her combos properly. Like, if you can throw daggers and jump around like crazy, be like a crazy ninja, then she's good. But I really only recommend you to play Katarina if you're like really, really good at the champion. Practice her in casual PvP until you really get the hang of her combos and then try her out in ranked. Because this champion is no joke. Like, Katarina is no joke at all. Champion that is a joke is Orianna, however. You can probably first time Orianna in a ranked match and you'll probably still do fine. That is how easy this champion is. And she's just strong. Every game she's going to provide value. It's so easy to play Orianna. Like, I mean, of course, it's hard to master this champion because to master Orianna, you're gonna have to be able to hit your first ability as well as your second ability. So not only your second ability, but like it's not necessary. Like honestly, especially with the current matchmaking, it's really not necessary. Like all you have to do is just get your balls close to the enemy's faces and then explode your balls on their faces. It's fine. Like you don't actually have to hit their faces with your balls. All you have to do is just explode the ball close to their faces. Like the splash damage that your balls will do to their faces is already gonna be enough. Like, that's the thing with Orianna. So right now, Orianna is going to be incredibly powerful because of that reason. Ari, because of a different reason, is going to be very powerful. You can be very aggressive with this champion. She can shove waves pretty easily, and she can gank. When you play Ari, you want to gank. You want to help your jungler. You want to apply early game pressure. I have some really good Ari videos on my YouTube channel if you want to watch how to play this champion. Especially the new Ari is actually stronger. A little weaker in the early game, by the way, the new Ari, but she's actually now really good in the late game as well. Like during team fights, if you kill an enemy or get an assist, your ultimate gets another charge, which is really, really good. It's really good. And don't forget the healing you get as well when you kill an enemy. So, like, it really rewards you to all in an enemy, take down that enemy, and then heal up. It really rewards you for that playstyle, as opposed to before, where you would take down the enemy, but then you're left with nothing. Corki is better now because they buffed his first ability. It's much, much easier to hit his first ability now in the late game when you get some attack speed. Like, it's gonna be like almost instant now. Like 0.16 seconds, I believe, instead of 0.29 or something. So it's almost twice as fast in the late game when you have like a lot of attack speed. It's really, really good. Like, it was already pretty easy to hit, but sometimes you'd miss your, sometimes you'd miss the first ability. But now in the late game, you're not gonna miss it anymore. Like, you really suck if you miss it at the stage she's at. Sorry, I took out the tab button from my keyboard and I just washed it because it was really dirty. I don't know why. Next up, we got... I mean, Yasuo is not that interesting, to be honest. Yasuo is just okay. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about Akshan. Akshan is the underrated champion, right? Like, if you can swing like crazy with his third ability, he becomes so powerful. Like, the thing with Akshan is people just never see his damage coming. People never see his damage coming. Besides hitting your first ability and basic attacks on the lane, the third ability is the big one. Like, the third ability is the really big one that no one sees coming. Like, you can literally swing right on top of the enemy and you're gonna outtrade that enemy because you get a barrier. You know, when you hit the enemies 3 times, you're getting a barrier. And because of this barrier, you're gonna be able to play very, very aggressively and get away with it with your third ability against most champions. But don't always do this, because if you do it against a Darius, he's gonna hook you out of it and he's gonna kill you. So keep that in mind. Zed mid lane is really, really nice as well, but it's very hard to play. Like, you really have to know how to play Zed properly. And I mean, if you haven't watched my Zed videos yet, then you're sleeping under a rock. I even made a full expert Zed guide, fully explaining to you guys how to use Zed combos. Just look up HellsDevil Zed and you'll see it. That's one you have to watch. Like, if you ever wanted to get into Zed. So the thing about Zed is, you shouldn't be scared to get into Zed, because getting good at Zed, I would say, is not that hard. But mastering Zed is probably the hardest in the game. I actually think it's the hardest champion in the entire game to master, to truly reach the skill ceiling of this champion. So I really recommend you to pick up Zed if you haven't yet. It's a really fun champion and it shouldn't scare you away. Like, it really shouldn't. I really believe in you guys. You can do it. Zed, you can definitely do. Veigar is much easier, of course. Veigar is just good. They actually buffed Veigar. They made him stronger in the early game, and you can definitely feel it. Like, his basic attacks and first ability will do more damage in the early game, and you'll feel it. Like, the basic attacks actually hurt much more now. I'm not sure why. Like, you could honestly, you could even go brutal on Veigar, the brutal rune, and really bully the hell out of the enemy with your basic attacks. Like, that, it is a type of playstyle you could do as a Veigar if you're up against like a melee champion. And if you're up against like a Zed or something, you can really bully them if you go for like brutal. Galio, I only really recommend you to pick Galio if you're against like a magic damage melee mid laner like Vax. No, not. Well, he's good into Vax, but I said melee, but he's also good into Vax. You know, if you're up against the Vax, against the Kha'Zix, against the Diana, against an Akali, against Katarina, against Gragas, against Echo, these types of champions. And you're lucky because a lot of them are in the top S plus tier of the tier list. So Galio counters the meta. It's not necessarily Galio that's the broken champion, but he just counters a lot of the meta. Because Galio also counters Diana jungle. Galio also counters Evelyn jungle. You see what I'm talking about? So that's why Galio, honestly, he should be up even higher just because of how hard he counters the meta. But I just put him in the middle of the ST because he's not he's not crazy, but he does do a lot of damage in the late game, like really a lot of damage in the late game. Pyke mid lane is good. It's actually really good. If you know how to play him properly, it's very, very powerful. Any other interesting champion in the mid lane? I mean, Aurelion Saw? I was actually working on an Aurelion Saw video. I was gonna get a video from the top 1 Aurelion Saw player from Europe, but unfortunately he just, I don't know, like I kept asking him about it, but he told me his phone broke and that he would send me the video eventually. And like a whole month later, he didn't send me the video. So unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to give you guys the top 1 already in Soul gameplay. He just didn't send it, even though I messaged him quite often. It's unfortunate, but it's fine. It's okay. Fizz in the mid lane is okay. It's not that strong because especially like a lot of the top champions do counter Fizz as well. Like Diana destroys Fizz, Galio destroys Fizz, Annie is pretty good into Fizz. Would Zoe be good into Fizz? I don't think Zoe would be. Because it's hard. Actually, if you have good reaction time, you could dodge Fizz's ultimate. But I remember when I tried Zoe, her ultimate actually takes quite a long time to charge. So it's not instant. So I don't know. I would have to test it out, really. All right. On to the Dragon Lane. Now here, not much has changed, but still some stuff has changed. Let me talk you through it. I'm not going to talk too much about the Dragon Lane because really not much has changed here. Ezreal is still incredibly powerful. You know, it's just... you can always pick him. He's always going to be good. Very high skill champion, though. Don't get me wrong. A very high skill champion. But it's insanely powerful. He's insanely powerful. Like, if you're just able to hit your first ability sometimes, most of the times, not sometimes, he's going to be really, really powerful in the Dragon Lane. Samira actually got a mini buff. Really not sure why Samira got a buff. Because she was already one of the strongest Dragon Laners in the game. Really, really not sure how she got a buff. Like, are the stats really, like, against Samira? Does she really have a win rate below 50%? I don't believe it. But facts are facts, right? They did buff her. So, in my eyes, she's going to be even stronger now than she used to be. Samira is just ridiculous. Like, I actually got like 3 pentakills. No, it was 2 pentakills and a quadra kill, and someone stole my 3rd penta on Samira. Have you guys ever gotten like 3 pentas in a game? There is no champion that can do that unless you're like Samira or like Master Yi or something. But Samira is actually useful. Vayne. Oh, Vayne. Do I wish to just one day just smack the face of Vayne out of her body? I swear to God, this champion. Everyone hates Vayne. Everyone hates Vayne. Let me just look up Vayne real quick. Vayne. I just want to see how she looks. Like, how hard would I smack this? Look at her. Look at her stupid glasses. Look at you. Look at you. Look at how you look. Look at this. Look at how disgusting this champion looks. Huh. Imagine being this. Get out of here. Look at you. No, okay, you know what? She actually looks pretty good. No, I take it back. No, you know what? She actually looks pretty good. She's even my type of lady. That's what kills me the most. I hate Vayne. Well, not this one, but she's kind of... Nah, okay, I'm wondering too much. Let's talk about the tier list again. Tristana is still very, very strong. Like, you just have to survive early game, get to the later game, and enjoy your range. Just sit back and shoot just from far off while the enemy is desperately trying to reach you. Of course, they're never gonna reach you because you have so much range. Oh, something off topic, by the way. This is something that my sister keeps telling me that I need to try. I'm gonna go to the barber like tomorrow, and my sister keeps telling me I have to tell the barber to like trim my beard like this. So this needs to go away and just leave this. I don't know. It's like a certain style, but of course trim it properly. Like right now it looks trash. I don't know if I should do it. maybe I will do it and you guys will see like a completely different me. We'll see. We'll see. I may give it a try. So yeah, Kai'Sa in the Dragon Lane, really, really powerful, especially against like assassin champions, because of course she can use her ultimate. It's like the anti-assassin champion. She can use her ultimate to dash away from the assassin, get a barrier, and not only that, Kai'Sa is literally built for 1v1s. She does a lot of isolated damage, and the more basic attacks you hit on the enemy, her passive will do a lot of damage to the enemy as well. So like she's literally built for 1v1s, isolated 1v1s. So like if the enemy has Evelyn, if the enemy has those Fiora and stuff like that, Kai'Sa is a very good answer to that kind of stuff. Varus, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. It's a poke champion. We're talking about AD Varus, by the way. AP Varus is different too, and I would rate AP Varus S tier 2. AP Varus is an absolute tank shredder. He demolishes tanks. It's a bit of a hard champion to play, really not easy. And especially because if you miss your ultimate on AP Varus, you're completely screwed. Like, most of your damage comes from your ultimate. Not directly, but indirectly, because it builds stacks up on the enemy. So if you miss your ultimate, you're pretty screwed with AP Varus. That's why, you know, generally I would say AD Varus is just a little bit better. Even though they've been nerfing AD Varus and buffing AP Varus, it's just a much safer option than AP. Caitlyn is okay. Jinx is fine. Ashe is stronger than you think because of her slows. Anything interesting right there? Jhin, I mean, Jhin is really not that weak. But it's just, I don't know. It doesn't feel like he fits the meta too much. And also, having Jhin with good players is going to be much, much better than having Jhin with bad players. For example, Jinx, you can carry the game solo, right? Like, even if you have bad players. Vayne, you can carry alone. Samira, you can carry alone. Ezreal, you can carry alone. You know what I'm talking about. Jhin, no, you're not going to carry alone. You actually need your team to hit CC. You actually need your team to engage. You actually need your team to do something, because you're not going to 1v9 on Jhin. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't matter how good you are on Jhin. It's just not going to happen. All right, on to the support tier list. Yet again, here not that much has changed, but I'm going to talk to you about some interesting champs. Karma is Karma, like really not interesting. She did get nerfed, but she's still like the most broken support in the game right now. And I wouldn't even necessarily say it's because of her barrier. Sure, her barrier is like a major contributor to her being S+ tier. But honestly, Imperial Mandate plus her ultimate plus Meteor. Like that just... The fact that a support can just chunk down enemy squishies to like 50% health with one crazy combo like that is ridiculous to me. And I'm not even talking about her using her first ability on top of it too. Like, she's gonna chunk them down even harder. It's ridiculous how a support champion building literal support items can do that. So, I don't know. You know, same story with Nami. The fact that you're able to build a Luden's Echo on Nami and just do ridiculous damage is crazy to me. These champions are meant to be supports, you know, meant to have items like Staff of Flowing Water, I don't know, Archangel Staff, Ardent Sensor. But they're so unbelievably strong that you can just go for heavy AP items on them and they're gonna carry the game as the support role. I actually made videos for both of them very recently. If you want to check it out, you can just look up, yet again, my name plus the champion name and you'll find it. Thresh is different. Thresh is very high skill, and you actually go for tank items, but he's still gonna carry the game. And it's also because when he gets his stacks from the minions, he stacks up AP. Every time he gets a stack, he gets bonus AP. And in the late game, actually even in the early game, early, mid, and late game, he can 1v1 squishies. Like the enemy ADC, very likely you can 1v1 the enemy ADC. Unless it's like an ADC like an Ezreal or Tristana or, you know, Vayne. For example, Jinx, you can just absolutely destroy when you're playing Thresh. So, or Jhin, or Draven, or something like that. It's like in 1v1s, Thresh is really, really strong like that if you just get a little ahead in the game. Janna is different, but Janna is very, very strong as well. The second ability, Slow, is disgusting. The third ability, Shielding, is too much. Like, the shielding, just the bonus AD that it gives to your teammates, let alone the tornado as well. Like, she has that stupid tornado, and then on top of all of that, if the enemy gets on top of your carry, you just ult them away. And if your team gets poked by a Ziggs bomb, you heal them up with your ult as well. A very, very multifunctional champion. She does everything. And she's hella fast as well, because her kit includes movement speed, so she's hella fast too. Sona, you know, just like Annie, the broken support champ that only really 1% of the player base knows about how broken this champion is. play it. I'm just gonna tell you guys, just play it. Look up my videos about it and just play it. Like, I reached Challenger multiple times just spamming Sona. It's just play it. Just play it. Like, she even got an absolute massive nerf like 2 months ago or 3 months ago. But even after this crazy nerf she got, like it was a really crazy nerf, she's still hella broken. She's still hella broken. Yumi, not as broken as she used to be, but good in the right hands. But the problem with Yumi is she's like now she's really reliant on the carry. Because back in the days, you would just give a massive heal. So even if the carry is not that good of a player, you're still going to provide very useful. But now it heals every basic attack. So like you're really reliant on your carry, hitting those basic attacks over and over again, knowing what he has to do with the Yumi, as opposed to before, right? It was like completely brain dead. Pyke is very strong as well. You actually like a really strong carry support. If your team is lacking a little bit of damage, especially lacking finishing power, you know, if you have very good poking in your team, you can pick Pyke to finish off the enemies. You go in, proc your electrocute, and finish off the enemies like crazy. It does a lot of damage. Nautilus is okay. Yet again, he did get buffed because of the new items. Frozen Heart and Randuin's Omen. And that other item is also good on him. I don't even know what it's called, the new support item. Just, again, an indirect buff. He indirectly buffed. Also, Spirit Visage, of course. He got indirectly buffed. Any other interesting champions right here? Let me see. I mean, Rakan is fine. Lux is fine. Ashe support is surprisingly strong. I gave it a try again, the recent patches. Really, really strong. And it's still the same. Like, they haven't nerfed it or anything. She's just very, very powerful. All you have to be able to do properly is hit your ultimate. Like, you can constantly gank all around the map with that ultimate of yours. And all you have to do is just follow the build that I gave to you guys, and she's going to be insanely powerful. Nasa's support, you only really want to pick it with a Senna. Yet again, like, this is another thing that I reached Challenger with, the NASA support. I actually know, I remember, like, some people were commenting on my NASA support videos, like, you know, you're kidding, this is absolute BS, there's no way you've done this, like, there's just no way, this is troll, the down vote. How are you promoting AP NASAs? What are you doing? Meanwhile, I am genuinely promoting this champ because I reached Challenger with him, right? Like, this is one of the champions. I reached Challenger with him twice, I think. I spammed AP Nasus with a Senna. Don't forget the Senna. You don't even have to pick Senna, by the way, but it's just better with the Senna. It's so broken. Like, you'll win your lane so unbelievably easily, especially now, because like very high skilled players are going to be able to deal with the Senna Nasus a bit better. But because no one in low elo knows how to play against it, you can just abuse it. If you know how to play it, you're going to win every lane. You're literally going to win every lane. I mean, I did it in Challenger. So, of course, in Gold elo or Diamond elo or Emerald elo, Platinum, it's going to be much, much easier to do, right? If you just know how to play these champions. Because it's also really low skill. Like, it's really easy. All you have to do is throw your third ability on the enemy and know when to go in. That's it, really. It's crazy, really. Leona is stronger than you think. The fact that you can engage from so far away with her ultimate, because recently they increased her ultimate range, so she can just engage team fights really, really hard. And the whole backline, like not just team fights, the backline, like the main carry of the enemy that is trying to hide behind everyone. Leona is just gonna ult that carry and everyone can go in and just blow up that carry. Anything? Well, another interesting one is this one right here, the Annie. Never pick any support unless the enemy picks Sona. If the enemy has a good Sona, you've pretty much lost the game. I mean, like 80% of the times you're gonna lose, unless the enemy team is completely inting. But if the enemy has a good team and a good Sona, you pretty much lost the game. There is one light at the end of the tunnel though that counters this, which is Annie. Annie support, trust me when I say this. When the enemy picks Sona, you pick Annie support. I even think I made a video about it. I'm not sure, but all you're gonna do is just play the lane safely. Sure, if you go in, you can go in. But the moment you reach level 5, every single ult is gonna be on Sona, on the enemy Sona. Every single ult. You're gonna flash on the Sona and you ult her. You're gonna protobot on the Sona, you're gonna ult her. And every single time you're gonna kill her. Every single time. And late game, when you reach 2 items, you're gonna one-shot her. But before that, you're a bit reliant on your team to follow up. But as I said, late game, you're always gonna one shot her. There's no counter to it. There's literally no counter because even when the enemy Sona uses QSS to try to escape, you're still gonna one shot her because it's just not enough. It's just not enough. And of course, you can't use stasis when you've stunned her. So just make sure you get the red ward, which is the control ward, so the Sona doesn't know you're coming, and then you just ult her and kill her every single time. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this tier list video, and I'm gonna take a massive child friendly in the bathroom right now. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next Wild Rift video. Bye bye.